Wish TV. All Indiana Politics
is your premier source for Indiana politics.
Focusing on issues that matter to you.
In-depth, nonpartisan coverage, exclusive interviews with Indiana's political leaders, expert analysis on critical legislation. From Wish TV, this is All Indiana Politics Podcast on the All Indiana Podcast Network. Now,
don't let high golf rates drive you out of bounds. Save big with the Wish TV Great Golf Club Card.
Central Indiana's largest golf club card membership is back for the 8th season with more courses than ever before. Save over 75% on tee times at 27 Central Indiana golf courses. All you need is the Wish TV Great Golf Club Card. Cards are valid for the entire 2026 golf season.
Great courses, great savings. Score your Great Golf Club Card today.
From your local news source, this is All Indiana Politics.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to All Indiana Politics. I'm Phil Sanchez. Indiana Democrats will have two choices for Secretary of State on Saturday. It's the only contested election at the convention. Beau is making his first attempt at politics. He's a lawyer, the son of former Governor and Senator Evan Bayh, and grandson of the late Senator Birch Bayh. He faces small business owner Blythe Potter. Both are military veterans. Potter was an MP in Iraq, serving on the protective detail of General George Casey. Bayh is a former Marine Corps infantry officer and a Harvard Law School grad. Our government reporter Garrett Bergquist sat down with both of them. We begin with Potter.
And joining us now is Blythe Potter, Democratic candidate for Secretary of State. Blythe, thank you for coming in today.
Thank you for having me.
Why are you running for Secretary of State?
The simplest reason is I'm angry with the way politics is handled in Indiana. I've lived here for 44 years. There's a lot of controversy constantly happening back and forth, a lot of blaming, and mostly what it boils down to is everyone in the state of Indiana, our tax dollars are being spent to be abused by politicians. And I would like to see that changed, and I have some ideas for that.
You said you wanted to create state-funded voter guides for each election.
Yes.
What would that entail? Why do you want to do that?
Well, we'll scale it up. We already have on the Secretary of State's website, there's information on the candidates, party, and what they're running for, and that's about it. It's on the voter to figure out what's their platform, where do they stand on XYZ position. So I want to obviously have a digital version so anyone with internet access can gain it, find out all they need to know in one spot. Candidates, party affiliation, a little bit of information from each candidate, what their websites are, how to connect with them, how the voting process works, what every office on your ballot is. A lot of people have no clue what a precinct committee person is, or a delegate, or a township trustee, and how important they are, but also how people can engage with their local county parties. All county parties, not just Democrat or Republican, if there happens to be independent, very comprehensive, but then also have a physical version. We still have about 10% of the population with no internet access, and some people might want Braille or other types of paper, so.
On your website, you call the Secretary of State's office systems outdated.
Yep.
What specifically do you want to change?
All of it. So for instance, the campaign finance portal for the Secretary of State's office looks like it was done in the late 90s. It's not easy to find. It's not intuitive. A lot of this stuff is really hard to do, especially on mobile. So I want to make sure everything is mobile ready. As a small business owner, I'm an end user of the NBiz website. Modernize that, make it mobile ready, and have resources for small business owners to really set them up for success. But before I make any changes, I want to put information out so that Hoosiers, regardless of voting status, regardless of political ideology, they can leave feedback like, I want to change my login, I want to be able to do this, or I want to, whatever they've seen while using it, give us feedback like, how can we improve this, not just what I want to do, so that there's really some buy-in from the public.
And you mentioned your small business experience. That actually leads me into my next question. The Secretary of State also handles business licenses. What could Indiana business owners expect from you in that regard?
Oh, first of all, to listen, because I know I'm not the only person who has ideas of what could change or how things need to be navigable, but really just making it a good place for resources. Having the ISBDC, instead of a small logo at the bottom, let's put it at the top. Let's get links to the SBA and SCORE and other already taxpayer-funded resources for small business owners. My master's is in business administration, but focused on conscious capitalism. So I also want to put a portal, something free for business owners, regardless of size, how they can have a more sustainable business. So they're helping their community, they're helping the environment, and we're lowering our carbon footprint across the state.
What are some things you learned both from your military experience and from your business experience that you would apply to the office?
That is That's one of the things, I'm glad you asked that because it really leads me to where I am. I have been that low person on the totem pole, like that little E3 private and basic training where you see your leadership or your whomever you're going to say more like, do as I say, not as I do. They're not practicing what they preach. They may not really care about the well-being of the entire group. So I've been in leadership positions in many arenas, but really being someone who can lead by example and teach fellow leaders, hold the baton, pass the baton, however you want to call it, and really open up access to getting into politics, understanding how this works, and making sure that we have an informed and educated voter base.
Current Secretary of State Diego Morales has faced accusations of nepotism, improper use of taxpayer dollars. How would you address those issues?
Well, first, we won't hire family. Like, pretty much anything Diego does, we'll do the opposite. Just be transparent and open. If we have a bid for something, let's make it public. Let's make sure it's available for unions to bid on it. If we want to do something like the ballot book, let's show them the cost that it's going to be. Let's show what we want to do with it. Really opening this up. I see politics as a customer service job. I've waited tables. I've been in every arena of customer service, and it is our tax dollars that should be working for us that they really aren't right now. So I want to also lead the way for other candidates and future politicians in the state and hopefully beyond to really be good stewards of that money and have that transparency.
Your opponent at the convention, Beau, has a pretty significant fundraising edge over you, and he also has the name recognition from his father and his grandfather. Does that concern you at all?
Not even a little bit. Name recognition with the way media and social media are, that can happen overnight. And money, that's a hot button issue for a lot of people. There are a lot of studies that show people want the money out of politics, and we have designed this campaign. One, we want to honor where we are with the economy and do smarter decisions with our money. There is nothing our campaign is lacking. Our social media is kicking it. Our website is amazing. Our platform is amazing. Our footprint is amazing. Our responding to people is amazing. We have a paid team. We've got money in the bank. We are doing really well. We're doing things like a small business owner would do.
What makes you the best choice at the convention?
I have experience living in Indiana under this landscape. I know what it means to live in a rural red community. I know what it means to feel like my community has been neglected. I have lost healthcare providers. I've lost hospitals. Our schools are underfunded. Our roads are underfunded. And I know what it means to be in this place where I love my state. This is where I'm from. I've lived here for 44 years. But I need to be able to stay here. I want my children to stay here. Both of my oldest, they want to leave the state once they're done with their schooling. And I would like for my 5-year-old to not be in that position when she graduates.
All right, coming up, we ask Beau how he wants to approach the office after the break. Welcome back. Beau comes from a long line of Indiana Democrats. His father, Evan Bayh, was the governor from 1989 to 1997 and a United States Senator from 1999 to 2011. His grandfather, the late Birch Bayh, served in the Senate from 1963 to 1981. This is Beau's first foray into politics. He sat down with our Garrett Bergquist.
And with us now is Beau, one of the 2 Democrats running for Secretary of State. Beau, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Why are you running for Secretary of State?
I was raised in a family of public servants, and I was always taught growing up that if you're going to enter public life, you do it to help your community and not to help yourself. And too often, I'm seeing folks in Indianapolis, the Secretary of State, the current Secretary of State is a perfect example of this, run for public office to help themselves, to enrich themselves. And that kind of offends my sense of what a public servant should be, especially when this office is so important. In your hands is our state's most vital resource, which is the health of our democratic process. It's a really important job, and it should be entrusted to someone with some character and integrity. That's why I'm doing that.
How would you approach running elections if you were elected Secretary of State?
The first thing we need to do is take partisanship completely out of this process. We need to have a process that everyone trusts, where there's not going to be any partisanship injected to it, where people are not thumbing the scales to help their political party. So that needs to happen. But we need to foundationally rebuild trust in this office. If the public, if the taxpayer, if the voter does not trust that the office holder is using the resources entrusted to the office appropriately, then why should the voter or the taxpayer trust that that person is running elections effectively? For example, the Secretary of State has spent tens of thousands of dollars on a luxury SUV for himself. He's hired his family members and pays them six-figure salaries. He's taken trips all over the world and won't tell us who's paying for them or the purpose of the travel. And he's given out millions of dollars in no-bid state contracts to our largest campaign donors. We have to clean up that corruption in this office, because if people do not trust the office holder, they can't trust them to handle elections or anything else having to do with this office.
What are some things you learned from your time in the Marine Corps and from your time in law school that you would apply to this office?
Yeah, so I was an infantry officer. I was in charge of a few hundred people, and we came from all different walks of life. As you can imagine, one of the best things about our military is it draws from everywhere. And we didn't always agree on everything. We definitely didn't always agree on politics. But at the end of the day, we came together to achieve a common mission that was more important than any of our small political differences. And so beyond the policy of this office, this campaign is about instilling that type of leadership spirit back into our state government. I personally, and I know millions of Hoosiers throughout our state, are sick and tired of the divisiveness, of the anger, of the partisanship that has gripped our politics. We have to, as a state, come together around the big things that we have in common. That's the type of leader I'm going to be in state government. I want to bring people together.
The Secretary of State also handles business licenses. How would you approach that segment of the job?
Yeah, so I have personal professional experience as an attorney helping entrepreneurs throughout our state set up businesses, commercial litigation. We need to make the tools that this office oversees work for the business owner. For example, on the Secretary of State's InBiz website, new business owners handle the creation of their businesses via that tool. You have to scroll all the way to the bottom of that website to see the Small Business Development Center, which is an amazing resource that our state has made available to entrepreneurs. It helps business owners understand different legal advantages to setting up your company a certain way, lines of credit that may be available to them, for example, as a veteran, zoning restrictions, etc. The list goes on. It's a great resource. The problem is not that the resource doesn't exist. The problem is that to get to that resource, you have to scroll through a few pages of self-promotion on the part of the office holder. So we need to make the tools of this office work for the entrepreneur, for the business owner, for the people that are creating jobs and fueling our economy, and not work for self-promotion on the part of the office holder.
Current Secretary of State Diego Morales, as you've alluded to, has faced accusations of nepotism and improper use of taxpayer dollars. How would you approach those issues?
The first thing that I will do as Secretary of State of Indiana is to open an independent audit of this office to rein in the corruption and rein in the insider dealing. It does not matter what political party you come from. We cannot tolerate in our state corruption and insider dealing and misuse of the taxpayer resources. People work really hard in our state, particularly at a time today when costs are going up. There's an expectation on the part of the taxpayer that when you pay your taxes, they're used appropriately. When that's not happening, it should offend every person in our state. We're going to clean up the corruption in this office. That's the first thing that I will do is open an independent audit and make those results available to the public writ large.
Your campaign finance filings list a number of large donors from out of state. Now, you do have many donors from here in Indiana, but your largest donors tend to come from outside the state of Indiana. How can we trust that you'll have Indiana's best interests in mind if that's how your filings are looking?
80% of our individual donors are from the state of Indiana. We have thousands and thousands of people throughout our state chipping in $5, $10, $15, $20 at a time. We're building the kind of campaign here that cuts across party line, across ideology. I don't just have Democrats supporting our campaign. We have a whole lot of independents and Republicans supporting us too. And I'm proud of that because I don't want to run this office in a partisan way. I want to be the Secretary of State of all Hoosiers.
What makes you the best choice for Secretary of State at this Democratic Party convention?
I have direct, relevant job experience to this office, which I was touching on a little bit earlier. As an attorney, I've helped entrepreneurs throughout our state with commercial matters, setting up businesses. I've handled securities fraud investigations myself as an attorney at the federal level. One of the responsibilities of this office, which we have not mentioned yet, is doing the same at the state level. I want to bring some of that professional experience to this office. When I was in the Marine Corps, I was in command of 100, 200 people, and we came from all different walks of life. I had to lead people, despite those differences, toward a common mission. That leadership experience is something I want to bring to state government. We are building the kind of campaign here that can compete in November. We're building support across party lines, across ideology. We've had hundreds and hundreds of people sign up to volunteer for our campaign. That's going to pay dividends in the fall when we have to get out the vote, when we have to do the messaging, which is going to help us succeed.
All right, coming up, Indiana's best political team assesses the options going into the Democratic convention.
The The opinions expressed by guests on this broadcast are solely of those of the individual speaking and do not necessarily reflect the views or policies of Circle City Broadcasting.
All right, welcome back to All Indiana Politics as we welcome in two members of Indiana's best political team, Democrat Carly Macer and Republican Matt Bell. Good to see you both.
Good to be with you, sir.
Carly, we'll start with you. What are the paths to victory for both Bayh and Potter at the Indiana Democratic Convention?
Yeah, well, we're going to see real soon, but certainly I think they both have been working extremely hard. And it all comes down to numbers and delegates. And I'm looking forward, I think a lot of us are, to see how everything continues to move forward. But for now, I think those phone calls, meetings, getting themselves out there, making sure that they're really communicating with the delegates, and it's all down to the two of them.
Yeah. The clock is on, right? Time is ticking. Matt, out of these two candidates, which one from the Republican perspective makes you worry a little bit?
Well, Saturday feels more like a coronation than it does a convention at this point, and I think that we are about to welcome the next generation of Bayhs into Indiana political contests. I think Republicans are certainly preparing for a contest against Beau in the fall. I think everyone believes that's a significant race, maybe the most significant race Republicans have faced in a long time. But they're going to be ready to win that race, and coming out of their convention in a couple of weeks, they'll have great momentum, hitting the ground ready to win in November.
That leads me to my next question. You kind of answered it there. What are the chances of both Potter and Bayh? It seems like you think Bayh's going to win this one easily.
I do, and I think Blythe has done a phenomenal job and laid out a great, compelling vision. Shows a great picture of what young business leaders, successful business leaders are in Indiana. But to me, the momentum is so strong behind Beau at this point, and I think there's been a hunger to have a Bayh back in Democrat politics in Indiana for years and years, at least listening to people in and around the Indiana State House.
Right. Carly, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think definitely Beau and his family and the work and the service they've provided to our state over the years has opened up the door for him, and I think that there's a great opportunity for him to move forward as the candidate as well. But definitely, like Matt said, Blythe is a great candidate, and she really has showed up for the state of Indiana as well, and I wish them both the best.
Yeah.
But I would definitely say that Beau has been doing the work as well, and I have expectations that he may come out on top.
Yeah. I think probably.
Yeah, it is really cool to see two Hoosier veterans who've been very successful as entrepreneurs, willing to step into public office as Republicans or Democrats. That's something we all ought to be very proud of and thankful for.
No doubt about that. Turning to the Republican Party race, Matt, what does the sudden defections to Max Engling mean for Diego Morales?
Well, it means we're going to have an awfully contentious convention ourselves here in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Clearly, Max Engling entering the race late provides voters with a distinct choice between two candidates. Max has a big job in front of him to introduce himself to a whole lot of people over the next couple of months, because delegates are special. Right? These folks are the backbone of our parties. They're the folks who are, manning polling stations, and they're walking in parades for folks. They don't just love to be told what to do all the time. We've seen this play out in the past. So, Diego and Secretary Morales has done a great job of being in the ear of delegates. I'm sure that Max is doing his best to be in the ear of delegates in these ensuing couple of weeks, as are Mr. Shelton and Ms. Reitenauer.
He's getting a lot of support, Carly.
He is.
Your thoughts on that?
Are you talking about Max?
Yes.
Or Diego?
Well, Max.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So Max, I haven't had the pleasure. I don't personally know him, of course, myself, but it sounds like the folks within the party are familiar with him, and it definitely seems like it's going to shake things up. But I think there's been a lot of shakeup in the Republican Party in the state of Indiana, and this is just another one of them. So I'll be curious and see how this plays out as well. But I don't underestimate Diego.
Well, do you think that that's going to help Democrats going forward? I mean, all of this back and forth between them.
Well, I think at the end of the day, it may have a little bit to do with it, but people move on, and I think it'll be after the convention that really comes down to it. But yes, if Diego comes out on top after the convention, then certainly some of this may play into it, but I think it would quickly somewhat fade into the distance as candidates looked ahead for the race and the general election as we move forward.
Matt, is there a part of you that watches what's going on here and kind of like is put on edge or kind of like disappointed in the way that everything's been unfolding?
You know, in a perfect world, I wish we would have had multiple candidates kind of Max's stature in the race much earlier so that everyone would have had an opportunity to talk to the delegates. But listen, you know, I think events over the last couple of weeks have made some folks who are very staunch supporters of Secretary Morales, like Senator Banks, like Attorney General Roque, to say, wait a minute, you know, we love our family and we put our arms around our family. We try to support our family, but when you've gone a step too far, we just can't do it anymore. It's kind of a tough love moment from those guys, and we'll see how the delegates respond to that.
Okay. Good to see you both. Thank you so
Great
much.
to see you, sir.
As always.
Great to be with you, ma'am.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Same.
Thank you both. Much more to come after the break. We'll be right back.
The opinions expressed by guests on this broadcast are solely of those of the individual speaking and do not necessarily reflect the views or policies of Circle City Broadcasting.
Well, thank you for joining us for All Indiana Politics this week. Be sure to tune in to our newscast on Saturday for our coverage of the Indiana Democratic Party Convention. We will have a full recap here on All Indiana Politics next Sunday. Have a great rest of your weekend.
From Wish TV, this is All Indiana Politics Podcast on the All Indiana Podcast Network. Watch All Indiana Politics live Sunday mornings at 9:30 on Wish TV and at wishtv.com. Subscribe to this podcast and listen weekly here on the All Indiana Podcast Network. And be sure to discover even more great podcasts at allindianapodcastnetwork.com.